Good evening. I'd like to call the special meeting of the Goochland County School Board to order. Today is Tuesday, March 16th, the year 2021. Good evening to all our attendees, both in person and watching from home. This coming weekend, elementary and middle school students have an opportunity to participate in a STEM day known as Conundrum Day. This board has its own conundrum, but unlike many difficult problems that need solving, we have 4 great possible resolutions. Thank you to the community for their encouraging emails. Yes, we read them all, and I am sure your many prayers. We will discuss and consider the interim District 2 board member appointment in a closed meeting that will lead to a motion to fulfill the legal obligations, the community expectations, and all with respect of our dear friend, Mr. Quarles. I chose a quote for tonight in recognition and celebration of March as VSBA Equity and Education Month and our District 2 citizens, past and future, who seek to serve. We all wince when we hear the word unprecedented. Long before the year 2020, the American novelist, playwright, essayist, poet, and activist James Baldwin wrote the following: "Every human being is an unprecedented miracle." As we pause for a moment of silence, you might enjoy thinking about all the miracles who are in your life. Please join us. Thank you. Please stand for the pledge if you are able. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Board members, are there any additions, amendments, or deletions for the proposed agenda this evening?
Madam Chair, I move that we approve the proposed agenda as presented.
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to approve the agenda as presented. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I move that the Goochland County School Board convene a closed meeting under the Virginia Freedom of Information Act in order to discuss and consider the appointment of an interim District 2 board member under Virginia Code 2.2-3711A1.
I'll second that motion.
All right. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
All right, we are in closed meeting. Good evening. I see we have a few more people than we had before we went into our closed meeting. First thing we do need to do is have our certification of the closed meeting. The Goochland County School Board hereby certifies by roll call vote that to the best of each member's knowledge, only public business matters lawfully exempted from open meeting requirements by Virginia law were discussed in the closed meeting to which this certification resolution applies, and only such public business matters as were identified in the motion convening the closed meeting were heard, discussed, or considered by the Goochland County School Board. Each board member responds, "I so certify," when called.
I so certify.
I so certify.
I so certify.
I so certify.
Thank you. Thank you all for your patience as we had really important conversation about this interim board seat. And the first thing I would like to do is, if you were a candidate, if you would stand and be recognized. Right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. We really appreciate that Ms. Allen, Mr. Kitt, Ms. Lebo, and Mr. Johnson were listening for their call to service. Mr. Vice Chair, what motion do you bring forward?
Madam Chair, I move that the vacant position on the school board be filled by Billy Joe Brooks Lebo.
Is there a second?
I second.
All right, I have a motion and a second that Mrs. Billy Joe Lebo serve as our interim board member. Ms. Bennett, will you please call a roll call vote for this?
Mr. Newman?
Yes.
Mrs. Moore?
Yes,
Mr. Wright?
Yes.
Mrs. Barefoot Reed?
Yes.
thank you. Appreciate it. Congratulations.
Thank
Right.
you.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it. And we really appreciate all the candidates. I hope that you saw the information that was on the screen during the closed meeting. The special election in November is a separate action, and so any citizen, whether you were here for the interim board position or you are considering the election in 2021, remember that there will also be a 2023 election when there will be 5 seats that will be vacant. And so there is a lot of opportunity for engagement in our schools, a lot. And we do welcome each one of you, whether you are at home this evening or here. There are committees, there are activities at your school. Please be engaged. Family engagement is a whole new business with our virtual education, and it's amazing because we always knew the importance of parents and the families and the education, and we've seen it. So please be involved as much as you can and enjoy your service to our schools. Our children matter. So thank you so very much. We appreciate it. All right. Our next item, Dr. Raley is going to present some very important budget information.
Good evening, board members, and thank you for the opportunity to share my recommendation to amend your FY 2022 budget. We all know the process that we have gone through since October to get to the point in time where I made a recommendation to you. You have approved it. You forwarded that request to the Board of Supervisors. I shared your request with the Board of Supervisors in this room just a few short weeks ago. Unfortunately, since that has happened, we gotten some additional information, which is not necessarily so unfortunate. It's a positive development in our budget, but it does require us to come back to our projections for our revenue and our expenditure. So it's my goal this evening to share with you my recommendation for your amended budget and share the recommendation for how those, where that revenue will come from and how to spend those funds. So the budget that was initially developed for your recommendation and your ultimate approval included the governor's recommended revenue for the fiscal year of 2022. That was a budget that was developed by him in December. And as you know, the House of Delegates and the Senate worked together to have ultimately a final General Assembly version. So what you see on the screen in front of you is the final General Assembly version of our anticipated state revenue for next year. And you can see that there are increases and decreases based on final General Assembly action. Minor decrease in basic aid, but you can see a significant increase in the state sales tax projection as well as other state categorical aid, ultimately resulting in an increase in state revenue of beyond what we had projected in the original budget to the tune of $333,000. A significant portion of that additional revenue comes from a compensation supplement with specific details about what school divisions must do in order to receive the full benefit of that compensation supplement. And so this is shared for the benefit of our public, but essentially in order to receive the full state revenue for a state compensation supplement, we must certify to the Virginia Department of Education, and I as your superintendent do that on your behalf, that we have provided an average, at least an average 5% compensation to our overall instructional staff. And so if we were not able to certify that we could not provide a 5% average increase, then the funds coming from the state would be prorated accordingly. So in order to get the full benefit of the state, it needs to be an average 5%, and you can see how that is highlighted in the screen in front of you. So I'll bring us back to work that we've been doing now for several months, specifically the presentation given by Dr. Armstrong in December related to our market competitiveness at several steps along our salary scales, including different positions, and these are our instructional positions. And as I have shared before, it's our goal to change red locations to yellow, yellow to green. Red, as we know, means that we are below the median in our market of 7 school divisions. Yellow is that we are at the median, and green is we are better than the median. And ultimately, board members, you know that you have adopted school board policy with the goal and the desire for this school division to become the leader in overall compensation in the Richmond metro region. And you can see that there are areas where we are competitive and areas where we're not, and ultimately it's our desire to make improvements. Specifically with regard to our teachers, when we drill down, this is a slide that you have seen several times before, and you can see where we rate at different steps along the salary scale at 5-year increments, where we are at the median, specifically at step 15, but we are below the median in every other step. And you can see where, based on current salaries of teachers, where we rate in comparison to jurisdictions who surround us, whom we compete with on a daily basis. So what I just showed was current salary information, and we all read the newspapers and listen to the news reports about what other school divisions have done and are prepared to do as they are presenting budgets to their school board and to their board of supervisors as well. And you can see one of our school divisions that we compare to, Fluvanna, they were able to give their employees a raise this past year, 1% raise. You can see that we were at the top of the heap whenever we were able to provide a $1,500 one-time bonus to our full-time employees, which again, I'm thankful for the support of our supervisors in this school board to make that happen. That was extremely competitive in the market and really set a nice tone to our workforce. And you can also see what other school divisions are considering as they're going through the budget development process and some pretty significant figures associated with that. And what I'm recommending to you this evening, board members, and now in order to allow us to be even more competitive in the market, is to adjust our salary scale accordingly so that we can provide an average 6.4% increase to our teachers, with a range of 3.27% to 8.09%, depending on where folks are on that salary scale year over year. And you can see that in conjunction with the $1,500 lump sum bonus in February, that really positions us very well in the market as we go to attract and retain talent for next school year. This is a revised teacher salary scale. You know the previous version that you approved just a few short weeks ago had increments from top to bottom of 0.7. You can see that these increments are raised to 0.85 from top to bottom, which really provides a nice sound structure to our teacher salary scale. And what this does, board members, if you go back to work that was done previously about 2 years ago, it extends the differential between 0 and 30 and makes it more sound for what you want structurally on a salary scale, because our previous salary scale from 0 to 30 had a very small differential. You're here 30 years and you don't make as much after 30 years as you may think. And what this does is it stretches it from 22.8% to 28.9%, which really provides some nice growth. And you can see that 78.5% of our teachers would receive at least a 5% or better salary increase, and some getting as much as 8.09, depending on where they are currently on the salary scale. So extremely attractive to our talent that we have right now, as well as those that we're working to secure as we go into the marketplace. So your current budget includes a 3% salary improvement or a 3% raise for individuals who are not on the teacher salary scale. This amended budget leaves that the same. So those employees who are currently on our unified salary scale or employees who are not on the teacher salary scale with this recommendation would remain the same at 3%. Previous action had the average teacher increase at 4.3%, and as noted, this increases that to an average of 6.47%. And your previous action had the overall workforce at an average 3.8%. And what this does through this action increases the average overall for all of our employees to 5%, thus allowing us to have the benefit of that state revenue that was referenced on previous slides. In addition, board members, it is my recommendation this evening that you budget for $28,000 to allow us to make specific adjustments for specific positions where we are off the market conditions. There are positions in our school division where, in order for us to attract and retain specific personnel, it's incumbent upon us that we make different adjustments for those individuals so that we can keep our talent. And so I'm recommending that in addition to the $30,000 you previously had in your budget, we raise that to $58,000 to allow for specific market-driven adjustments, and seeking your recommendation on that, your approval on that this evening. In addition, board members, the last time that I presented the budget to you, we were optimistic that we were going to have a 0% increase in our health insurance premiums, and unfortunately it went up a little bit more than I anticipated. And so ultimately, my recommendation to you this evening is that we continue with the same philosophical approach and that we absorb the cost of that increase as a school division, so that employees who are choosing the $500 deductible plan or the high deductible plan experience 0 increase in their health insurance premiums last year to this year. And what is exceptional about this, as we compete in the market, is that every dollar our employees earn through any sort of salary increase that you approve goes to the employee and is not offset by any sort of increase in health insurance, with the exception of a few dollars for those who are at the $250 deductible plan. Other school divisions will give raises, but will they absorb the cost of health insurance benefiting their employees to the degree that we are proposing here this evening? And so this is something that goes to the overall compensation that we're providing for our employees. It goes beyond just salary. It goes to health insurance and all the other ancillary benefits that we provide. And we're recommending that we use funding from the new federal stimulus bill in order for us to be able to fund some of our summer school costs with those funds, freeing up dollars for us to be able to do this. So there is additional federal funding that we were just notified about last week. It's called the American Rescue Plan. We have the potential for upwards of $2 million in order for us to use by September 30th of 2024. 4 rounds of federal funding. This is the 4th at this point in time, and I heard today that this is going to be double what we had before. Your original budget has $1,049,000. So we are expecting upwards of $2 million. We are forecasting in this budget amendment the use of $1 million at this point in time. Once we get final figures, we would come back to the board for a recommendation for a categorical transfer, for the authority to spend those funds by the supervisors, with a plan for how we would recommend that you spend those. But for this initial $1 million, what we're recommending is we continue to implement more indoor air quality improvements. We've done a lot so far, and I applaud the board for what we've done to date to make sure that we're providing a better climate for our employees from an indoor air quality standpoint. What we're recommending is we spend some dollars for the Goochland High School cooling tower replacement for more reliability there. Invest in Randolph and Byrd, and as we expect, those schools are going to be around for a while in our community, and so this would be money that would put those schools in a strong position for the next 20 years. And then in addition to that, the funding that I just referenced for summer school that we would use these funds for to allow us to pay for the health insurance increases that I just referenced. So $1 million at this point in time. We are in the process of developing a long-term plan for what the rest of the money could be used for. Much like we did before, it would allow us to transition out of the use of these one-time funds for future budgets and not relying on those grant funds when they dry up. So it's a similar philosophical approach, but this is the first $1 million. This is balanced, and the additional expenditures that I just referenced are offset by additional revenue, and you can see that this is a $37.65 million budget. And out of that $3.383 million, there are 2 federal stimulus funds that are included in that to the tune of about $2.1 million. So without those one-time federal stimulus dollars, you can see that this budget request would be a little bit lower, but this is in totality where we are at this point in time, and wanted to bring you to the bottom line in the overall figures there. So happy to entertain any questions that you may have, board members, and answer any questions you may have.
Madam Chair, if I
Yes,
may.
please.
So, I'm sorry, did you say that that was 2.1 of the 3.3 that relates directly to this, to the CARES Act and the?
Correct. Yes, sir.
Okay,
sir.
thank you, sorry.
Yes, sir.
No problem. That's a lot of adding and taking away going on here. It is always great to have the expenditure side get some bigger numbers, and then really appreciate the work that is being calculated for the revenue side. How can we make the most difference for our people in this people business, and how can we maintain our facilities, which all our people use? So thank you for the work that you are doing towards that. Board members, other questions, comments? Any questions, comments?
No.
So,
Madam Chair,
yes, sir.
I move that we approve the amended budget as presented.
Second.
All right. I have a motion and a second to approve the budget as amended this evening. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? All right, Dr. Raley,
Yeah.
Ms. White, and all your team members who helped make this possible, thank you. And I guess we might be seeing this again with some more adding and appropriate taking away.
We will
So,
continue to report this on a monthly basis as we do within your board packet. You have also approved a transmittal letter that will forward to Mr. Lumpkins as the chair of the Board of Supervisors, as they will consider this as the overall request from the school division. Pending their approval in April, we'll turn right around and get contracts ready for our workforce to get them dialed in for next year.
thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And before our vice chair makes another motion this evening, I just want to again congratulate you, Mrs. Lebo. We look forward to seeing you sitting with us. We look forward to working with you, and we do have some great work in the very near future. Mrs. Bennett, I believe that you will be, Mrs. Bennett, I believe you'll be contacting her next for some of the things like badges and some of those types of items. So, and we will definitely be in touch so that we can
Right.
start the process of learning
Putting you to work.
about this board.
Right.
So, And again, thank you, everyone who was a candidate and could still be a candidate for the election. We really, really appreciate you. Mr. Vice Chair, do you have another motion for us, sir?
Madam Chair, I move that the Goochland County School Board convene a closed meeting under the Virginia Freedom of Information Act in order to discuss and consider the superintendent's contract under Virginia Code 2.2-3711A1.
I'll second that.
All right, we have a motion and a second for our closed meeting. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All right, then we are in closed meeting once again. And I will say for information that once we come out, we are only going to certify that we discussed specific items. So I appreciate that you have been here this evening, but there will be no other voting or business after that. So thank you so very much for being here. We really appreciate you.